the wealthiest community we have. Oak Ridge just laughed at us. They said, there's no way, you're going to qualify for this particular grant. So that went 60,000. So then the Oak Ridge had another grant. We called it the, what was that? Rural Economic Development, RED. You remember that? Golly, I never can remember.
Ready?
It's a RED. It's a red grant. Let's plan on Van Buren. They tend to be a little more robust. They got an active volunteer fire department, active community, kind of remote. It's probably one more remote.
That's where Story's at, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Story. And they stop at Elkinsville. But then you get past Elkinsville, and that's Washington Township.
Yeah.
So
What do you do for the hour and a half that you're sitting there waiting for meetings to start? Are you working in that 15 minutes before every meeting, or are you just wasting that? He got so upset that he never got mad at me for being on time to the meeting again. So.
well, I tend to never be late for military reviews.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You don't want to be the one walking in and everybody's already there
No.
looking at you.
But I don't have time to cut all my other meetings 15 minutes short to get to the
Right.
next one, right? So-
Amy can't be here if you saw the email.
I did.
Other
She's
things,
a
but she's still going to be the school rep.
Yeah, before we officially start, should I have reached out to her, or was the should
I
the school
sent to
board
her.
reach out to us?
Yeah, we
or-
kind of forgot, yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of slipped through and, so I sent her.
Yeah, I
copy.
saw you did.
I sent her, she reached out.
And we'll get her the minutes.
Yeah, it's just,
So we are not the only two returning members. We have Amy coming back also.
Yeah. Well, at least for now. Who knows? When the election season picks up, the school board might appoint somebody else.
This is
Oh,
true. This is true.
Because I have a feeling she's going to be busy in the fall.
Yeah. And you guys are sure you want me on this? So you're not worried about if a real actual conflict comes up, then I'll do it, but we're fully aware as the board that there may be a potential conflict come up at some time, and
well, if there's something that you're
Address it.
involved in and,
okay.
yeah, just
Yeah.
recuse yourself from a vote if we have one. and-
But
Just making everybody aware that everybody knows I'm the town attorney, so.
But fundamentally, the county RDC cannot operate in the town because the town has its own RDC.
I don't think there'll ever be an actual conflict. I'm worried about the perception of conflict when somebody gets mad at something that I've done on either side.
So that's fair.
As long as we're all good with it, then we'll go for
But
it.
it's not like we're changing the world.
Yeah, we'd have to actually do something, but there'd be a conflict.
Yeah.
Chris and I are changing the world this time. We're gonna change the world this time.
Yeah.
Right?
How are we doing that?
Hey guys, not to interrupt, but did I understand you are waiting for someone yet?
I think we're good.
No, I think we're good. We'll go ahead and get started. So,
All right, just a quick reminder before you do get started. This is being live streamed to YouTube, so, just keep that in mind. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Bill.
fantastic. So, we'll call the meeting to order. We know who's here. All right, Chris?
Do a roll call.
Do roll call?
Yep.
All right.
Alan Brown here.
Tim Clark?
Todd North.
Chris Schneider. First thing on our agenda here is to elect officers for the year.
I'll nominate Chris for president.
Second. How's that real quick?
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
So there is a rule.
All in favor, aye, aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Let's have it, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, here's where you can get even. Now you need a vice president and a secretary.
Well, and you know who the vice president has to be? It has to be Todd.
Because
Because
the
there's a
council.
rule in the book, because they can't be elected from the same body, or
Oh,
appointed by the
okay.
same body.
Okay.
So
All right.
I nominate Todd for
I
vice
second
president.
I second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right, cool.
I really didn't want to be secretary. Oh, okay.
So I will say this, whoever wants to be secretary.
Well, we're down to one person, so.
Well, we got two. There's an option here. But whichever one of you wants to step to the plate on this. I have an AI system that takes the notes.
Okay.
I then take the transcript from that and I throw it into a prompt and then I print out the minutes. So if you wanted to be the secretary and not have to take minutes?
I'll be secretary. I'll probably still take minutes, but we can merge my minutes with what you're recording.
Yeah,
and do
I
it
mean,
like
whatever
that.
you want to do. I'm just
So,
saying,
yeah,
I just got
absolutely.
used to doing this last year,
Sure.
so.
I nominate Alan.
right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
cool.
I was looking forward to the vice president role and having somebody else be secretary, but you found a rule that I wasn't aware of. And I'm glad you didn't point that out before I nominated you.
Chris read the manual.
Yeah, I did not read the instructions. So.
You know, that happens. So looking at the minutes from last year, I think it would suffice to say, and Alan, feel free to color this differently if you would like, but we had a lot of conversations around the comp plan, as Tim, as you were kind of throwing Todd in on earlier. We had some interesting meetings last year where we got to learn more about things going on in the county. We searched for places that might need our help, and we came up somewhat empty-handed, I think would be fair to say there. The only new stuff that came up out of the last meeting was that we had worked on getting an RFP to get to Tim, to get to this.
REA, right.
REA, to try to do a pilot in Van Buren Township of actually having some sort of community listening session for the comp plans so that we can understand what the folks here actually want. Tim, tell me if I'm wrong, but based on your email, that's now with you guys as the commissioners and you're meeting with the APC.
Yep, trying to do a meeting with Kayla on Friday to kind of go over it and say, hey, how do we want to proceed?
Yeah.
So I think the commissioners and the APC kind of need to have a kind of a joint meeting and say, okay, here's where the draft is, here's the kind of the focus that we're looking at that we thought was missing from the plan, and where do you want to go from here? I mean, the commissioners can fund a prototype in Van Buren, but then that calls for additional ones, right?
Yeah.
So, and APC really has the lead legislatively to develop a comp plan and have the public meetings and pass it on to commissioners to approve. But at the same time, this past time, commissioners didn't really give the APC any direction regarding the comp plan. They just say it was hands off. So those guys just kind of took what they had and kind of ran with it with $30,000, I think is all they had.
And that's still the same, we haven't done anything else with the comp plan?
No.
Just that one that was initially the 30 grand one that.
Right. And you know, yeah.
So is the APC, are they the main effort regarding carrying something forward?
Yes.
Okay.
For
all right.
the comp plan, they are.
Okay.
And so they schedule the meetings. They have the public hearings when they get the drafts. And then they vote on it and then send that over to the commissioners for consideration. And again, it was just, I think they had, I don't know, 20, well, how much was that? Around 30,000 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
It's a short-term thing and it wasn't a whole lot of money.
I had 40 in my head for some reason.
How much?
I thought it was 40. But
It would have been close, 37, maybe 20,000 for the foundation, another 10 from,
It was whatever the money was
27
set
and 10.
aside, but there wasn't any more money to fund it.
Yeah.
further.
and the town, hell, I think you guys had like $70,000 to $80,000 for
It
your
was
plan.
a lot.
And that's who I contacted, the
Okay.
REA on that one.
Good.
Just, asked her, to come up. what
Yeah, I
she
mean, the
thought
town
would
one,
be.
I assume you guys have all seen, the town one wasn't perfect, but it was okay. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was better than the county one. I think I said that before on the RDC one, at least. But they did spend a lot more time interviewing. They did a lot of in-town, work sessions where the public was invited, and it was a pretty good turnout for them. Sandy did a good job pushing those and getting turnout, and we went to a couple of them, and they were well run and.
Well, I mean, it was well funded.
Yeah.
And they did a really good job, had plenty of meetings.
Yeah.
I lost track, had the communication strategy,
Lots of meetings. Yeah.
had online shared with people. There were articles covered in the paper. I mean, it's pretty thorough. And that's for like a town of what, 1,200?
Yeah.
Now we got 15,000. It's like, and here's $30,000, see what you can do kind of thing.
Right.
And so, that's just,
Local grant, was that right?
well, see, that we tried to do that. Remember, it's like, we tried to say, okay, there's $60,000 available for a comprehensive plan for Okra.
Right.
So we looked into that, and the LMI blew us out of the water. You needed 51% or higher, and we had 40.4%. And then the folks at Okra said, there's no way you can take out the high income district, and do it. So that went $60,000 we couldn't tap. Then we tried to do that red grant, if you recall.
Yeah.
And we put that together and we applied, tried to get a community engagement strategy for them to develop that and help us, develop that, the comp plan. And then they turned us down because we didn't have a community engagement capability. So we scratched that one. So then we shifted to the RFP, saying, okay, if we were going to do a community engagement strategy, what would that look like in support of the comp plan, in support of what the APC is going to do. And so then that input led to the scope of work kind of thing. I went out and reached out to REA and said, hey, what do you think of this prototype and that kind of thing. And so, they came back with a kind of a draft and, and I kind of tweaked it. What I tried to do though, for communities, we tried to identify, if you guys don't have a map, I've got the big maps and I put on the bigger map, I think I had it at the library at one of our meetings. So I put the census tracts for every, and I got it back in my office, but it's a census tract for all the townships. Like there's 2 or 3 or 4 census tracts in there, so you can see what the income level is, within a particular census tract. And
So kind of the demographics of a given location.
Yeah,
or
income.
township in this case.
Though some of them are very confusing, let's say. Gnawbone, the 2 census tracts, there's one census tract that goes north of 46 and one that goes south of 46. And those are, I believe, after the lakes, either the 2 richest or 2 of the top 4 highest income spots.
Yep.
But what you have there is a huge amount of economic disparity.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of big properties just north of 46. 100 acres or more, and kind of an estate retreats, that kind of stuff. A lot of money. That was funny.
Ties into Columbus. Like it butts right up against Bartholomew County. I have some friends that live out that area. And,
Okay.
It's,
Yeah, next to Atterbury.
Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of retired rich people.
Yes.
Yep. Well, and then Nashville's interesting. You had a northern Nashville and Nashville proper. Northern Nashville would be Pine Tree Hills, that kind of stuff. That did a little better, but Nashville itself was had the highest low to moderate income level in the county, 68%. The higher the number, the poorer, the less income. It's an inverse relationship. So it's like,
Less affluent retired people.
yeah, or
Well, I almost wonder if like Brown County Health and Living isn't the entire reason that statistic is that way.
Is
that could be.
Yeah, you're right, because that is, yeah,
It's
I mean,
the
there's
highest
some-
density housing in the county.
yeah. There's that little pocket, and then just kind of west of town where all those little condos are. Those are both pretty, relatively dense spots. Mostly.
so to take things at face value would maybe leave us a little short of really understanding the full story, right?
100%.
Okay.
But it's a start.
All right.
It's a source when you go look for census data. They break things down by track, so if you want to get a snapshot of stuff, but yeah, you drill down and you can see peculiarities, in a different area. So I bet you if we had a quiz and said about Gnawbone, I'll bet you it would have been in the top 5. I mean, the perception is it's industrial and.
Right, I mean, realistically, the wealth's not the right word, but the higher income in Brown County isn't in Nashville.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
With a few handful of exceptions, most people are, out, maybe close, but yeah, that's interesting.
And so, Alan, did you say that the town had developed a comp plan?
Yep.
And have they exercised it?
It's exercised it how?
Like, have they
started using it?
Yeah, have they done the engagement? I think
We've done the engagement, and the plan is, I believe it's done and
Yeah, it
has
is.
been adopted at this point, I think. I'm not,
Oh, it has.
okay, it
It has been adopted.
So they went through the engagement, got all the community feedback and everything in it. It's been adopted. Now, whether we've done anything with it or not, I can't answer that.
Well, but then REA got a follow-on engagement
Yeah.
contract to redo your
Yes,
zoning.
yes, you're correct.
you-
We did the UDC, the Unified, yes. So we are, so.
That was like $100,000 or it was,
We are in the process of redoing all of our zoning and doing, it's a UDC Unified, something.
I know what you're saying, I forget the term.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah. And so then when you look at the county comprehensive plan, do you integrate, at least you reference, what the town's doing, and the issue on the town is your sewer district.
Yeah.
I think when I saw your master wastewater strategic plan, you were looking at going about 1 mile or 2 miles outside the town boundaries to
Right.
provide sewer service if people want to be annexed.
Correct.
So that's any growth strategy, they have that. But the annexation requirements have changed. Now you need a lot of people to volunteer.
Right, you can't do, roughly, towns can't force annexation
Yeah.
anymore like they could years ago. They can kind of incentivize people to annex by tying it to services. So one of the ordinances that we did push through this year is tying annexation to sewer services. So if you do want sewer and you're contiguous, then you have to get annexed in. If you want sewer but you're not contiguous, we can still run sewer out there if we want to, but if you become contiguous within 10 years, then you agree to be annexed into that point. So basically, that's the Gnawbone piece, right? So if, not Gnawbone, yeah, Gnawbone. So if, for whatever reason, the town decided to run sewer to Gnawbone, Gnawbone would not have to be annexed in to do that. But if we ever became contiguous with Gnawbone within 10 years, they would have to agree to it. So it's kind of the way that the law has changed over the last few years.
But see, it's
Now,
that
what
kind of
happens
thing
if
that you would have in the county comprehensive
They
plan.
don't
Everything
have
he
to
just
take
briefed,
sewer.
that's what you would
So if
have.
somebody turns down
in
sewer,
the
you
section
have an
that deals with
island that's
Nashville.
the county surrounded
No.
by the town?
So if somebody turned down sewer and we couldn't get annexed the next property, then the next property would still be able to get sewer, but they would not have to be annexed in until
Okay.
that property, you know,
Gotcha.
yeah. But it's up to the town at that point, right?
So as the footprint grows or potentially grows, the essential services are being addressed beforehand and really are forcing the issue, right? I mean,
Right, I mean, right, before we tied it to the sewer annexation, there was no real reason to voluntarily annex in. And let you save a little bit on your water and you could run for town council, right? I mean, there's police services and some other things, but it's like, there's not a big incentive pool to just.
but as that increases the tax base for the town.
It does
increases
increase the tax
Yeah.
basis for the town, exactly. And it's really the only way, you either raise taxes or increase your tax base. So by tying it to sewer, so let's say Annandale wants sewer, and everybody from here to Annandale wants sewer, then the town would require all of those properties to annex in to get sewer. Now, if it was just Annandale, and nobody along the way wanted it, then you could, if the town chose to, agree to connect Annandale without any of the other properties, and then they wouldn't be required to annex in, but they wouldn't be allowed to hook on sewer.
Kind
So
of based on that 2-mile radius, Gnawbone is about the only town that really gets brought into question, right? I mean, everybody else is kind of,
Yeah, there was a master sewer plan done a few years ago that was a bit overly ambitious, that had sewer lines running from Nashville to
Belmont,
to
Bean Blossom,
Bean
to
Blossom,
Gnawbone.
all over the place. But I mean, it was a sewer plan, and the realities of doing that are there's too much elevation. It doesn't make sense. Whatever. The realistic area that I guess I'm speaking from when I was on the sewer board, not from the town, I guess, but realistically, the town would see Annandale as there's a need there, and Annandale has reached out to the town in the past about it. The old Opry project, there's been conversations about developing that into something. Gnawbone has an immediate need for sewer, but doesn't particularly want to be connected to the town. And those are kind of the directions. The problem that you run into is the cost to connect town to the Opry property is about 1.7 million. This is 5-year-old numbers, so around 1.7. The cost to connect Gnawbone is around $1.7 million. The cost to connect Annandale is probably around $1.7 million. The question is, which of those connections is worth it, right? I mean, if you're going to spend that kind of money, and who's going to spend the money to do it, right? If a multi-apartment building goes in out at the Opry project, okay, cool, that justifies running it. But if without that, it's hard to justify running it that direction. And that's a tough run, because you've got to basically, that's a tough run to get out there, but it's doable. Annandale's a little bit easier to get to. The question is there a lot of room for future development if you connect sewer to that area, right? Because one of the things that will help development in the county is sewer and water and electric, right? If it's, when you're building a bunch of houses or whatever, adding septic and water, while we probably all have septic and, I think we all have septic, it's expensive. It adds to the cost of it. Whereas if you're dividing that across, we all know sewer is less expensive. So if you're looking at where you're going to get the most bang from your buck from a future development standpoint, which way should the sewer go? Well, in my opinion, I think Gnawbone starts to make more sense, because you've got more buildable, not necessarily people that want to build on it, but more buildable going from here to Gnawbone than you do from here to Annandale, with the exception of the tract across the street that the Tiltons own. There's a big chunk of property over there. And then if you go out to the Opry project, that's almost completely dependent on what you do with the Opry site, right? Because you can pull in those neighborhoods over there, but there's not a lot of room for future growth. It's more of connecting the existing houses. So my personal opinion is you should plan to send the sewer where it's going to prime the area for future development and growth, in my opinion. And picking the direction that you get that investment value, I think it ends up headed towards Navajo. Because you pick up the park, you pick up the campgrounds that are along the way. You pick up Navajo when you get out there. There's property over by the winery that's buildable. And I'm ignoring Helmsburg. I think so. Helmsburg's got a huge potential for development, but we're not going to connect town of Nashville sewer to Helmsburg. They've got their own sewer plant. They're working on their own funding. They're working on their own grants. Cool.
Lake Lemon just got $3 million.
Yep.
Bean Blossom got money to hook up people, so you kind of covered. If you look at the map, the large sewer project that the county RSD has runs from Woodland Lake to Lake Lemon, with Bean Blossom being the focus of, I think they were planning 180 customers in Bean Blossom. Helmsburg is rebuilding their plant to handle all the flow for that section. So they got money. I think I lose track, but they got money to upgrade their plant.
So Bean Blossom and Helmsburg will be tied together?
Yes, by sewers. That's new. They've been trying to get a sewer line into Bean Blossom for 50 years. Seems like
it does. You can't. You have to come up and over too big of a hill to connect Bean Blossom to Nashville.
Tried that. That project went out and it was pretty expensive. But then at the time, Nashville linked it to the annexation. That blew it up.
They were trying to do forced annexation.
It stopped all conversation at that point and created hard feelings, and that's been the issue with Helmsburg. And anyway,
there's still an annexation piece to it, but it's not like it was before, right? And even in the meeting when we passed it, that's what I said. It's like this is drafted to allow Gnawbone to allow us to connect to Gnawbone without Gnawbone having to annex in, unless it became contiguous within 10 years. And I can't even really argue a reasonable path to get Gnawbone contiguous with Nashville.
Well, and then you've got regional sewer districts that are their own entity. They fall on DRYDEM. So Gnawbone has an RSD. And they've got a small an aging package plan. I don't know where they're at on their upgrades. So you got Nashville, you got Gnawbone, you got Helmsburg, and that's it.
There's another little one, but it might be a private one. There's one
down south.
It's by one of the camps. I don't remember. I know Robin takes care of two.
Oh, okay. Well, I know. Yeah, there's a subdivision.
It's probably. I'm sorry. It's probably a regional one. It's not a regional one. It's probably a private. Package plan.
Yeah. There may be one or two of those in the county, I think.
Yeah. But I think as far as as far as potential for development areas, the Helmsburg corridor, the Bean Blossom, there's a lot more potential there than. I think there's more potential from Bean Blossom to Lake Lemon than there is from Nashville to Gnawbone. And probably more property owners that are willing to develop.
Well, and there's like overwhelmingly over 200 homes, and that was in the paper years ago, but over 200 homes in Lake Lemon that septics don't work when it floods. And so they've got maybe, 400 homes they could hook up in Lake Lemon. Half of Lake Lemon is in Monroe County. Their commissioners support sewer service to that area. So not only that's right for development, not only in Monroe County, but in Brown County as well. So they just got, I think it's $3 million, I think, of federal money to hook those guys up. So that's nothing stopping anybody from developing that area. Nothing at all. It's like they've got the Helmsburg, they've got all the infrastructure.
We don't have a TIF district in Helmsburg.
No.
Nobody's asked for anything.
No. And that's the thing. The other thing when the RDC comes in, the little history on that one is we used to have an EDC in the county. And then the sock factory used to make, if you're familiar with the sock factory, they used to make well, they still do, but they're not here anymore. They had a fire and then decided to move to Martinsville to have water, to get the water volume that they needed to get decent help, get decent insurance. And so they donated that property to the county. County created an RDC to redevelop that area because of the closing of the plant. I think it had 100, 150 jobs. maybe, something like that. So then the RDC was created just to deal with that problem. How can we fill that gap? What can we replace it with? And so a lot of different options came up for that plant, but bottom line, it was to sell it. And so they sold it to the Beamer, got, I don't know, $400,000 done. That was it. Mission accomplished. And then the next time you had a need for an RDC, I think Helensburgh came to us. I was on the RDC on that time in 2016 and said, gee whiz, can you help us, build up our community? We went through there, they had maybe 6 houses just falling down, disrepair, all kinds of issues. And so we thought, okay. So we did, and that's the tool for the RDC. You create an economic development area. So you go to the folks saying, hey, what do you want in one area? And so they did it themselves. They created the EDA. I just facilitated the paperwork and the Barnes and Thornburg translation and all the changes. So they created an EDA. We didn't do a TIF. TIF basically means that you can freeze the property tax, and any increase as a result of development comes to the RDC. But with $400,000 sitting out there for the sock factory money at the time, we thought, really don't need the money. Funny enough, once the spotlight went on Helensburgh, they got a couple articles in the paper. The private sector stepped up. You had a family came in and they tore down 3 of the houses. And I think there was a couple more houses that got torn down. Habitat for Humanity went in.
Yeah, they've got a couple places they could.
Yeah, Habitat's got maybe 3 homes in there now. And where the 2 homes are, those were dilapidated houses were torn down. And,
kind of by the post office area.
Yep, that's it. And so then, and then they had new buyers for the grocery store, and that seems to be doing really well. And then we were talking about the steamery. They've got like 8,000 square foot. Is that what they advertise for available space? So I think, what can we do with that steamery? So when you look at all the infrastructure, it's there. They have sewers, broadband, power. It's there. It's a matter of go get them. And when it comes to the TIF, the county's never had one. All of Nashville, I think, is a TIF.
I know Nashville has TIF districts. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you go out and look at the database, you query tax increment financing districts in Indiana, and boom, you get an inventory. And Nashville's got, I think, every property in there is in that district. There's never been a TIF district in the county. The county's never had to give anybody an incentive to develop here. The closest they came was when the little Opry burnt down, and that owner wanted help with putting a sewer treatment facility, whatever, and he applied for the state, and they gave him a grant or permit. But the county offered him $400,000 tax abatement to subsidize that cost. But that was never executed. The financing wasn't there for a private sector to develop a music center. So that's about the only time I'm aware that the county ever offered an abatement. I know the town has done that historically, but not the county. And I don't think there's a whole lot of appetite for that unless there's an overwhelming need. And that's the problem with the RDC. It's like, well, what are you going to redevelop? And then that gets back to our economic base. And we tend to sell the myth. You always hear that tourism is our economic driver for the county. It's not. But yet that's the myth, and that's kind of the story. And so when you look at the tourism, it's an important segment of our economy, but that's not the driver. That's not what's paying the bills. It's about 10% of GDP, tourism is. And then it's less than 5% of our taxable wages. And I haven't looked at the property tax. So when you look at taxes from tourism, gross wages from tourism is around 21 million. The entire county is 510 million. So we're like a bedroom retirement work from home community. And then COVID, we got a little bump in the numbers. So that's the fuel. So when you look at the LMI throughout the county, when you see a low LMI, which means high income, that's our base. That's the silent majority in the county. But yeah, folks, the tourism, the amenities, the recreational opportunities, the bars, the music, that attracts people here, as well as our terrain. So, the terrain's like, what we have over 50% is state, federal land, and a lot of nature conservancy, Sycamore Valley, a lot of different things. But when you look at that and you say, well, that takes away from your tax base, well, that's what It does, but that's what attracts people to live here. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So yeah, we're not getting taxes there, but it attracts more people that want to live here.
We've also got a lot of church camps and a lot of
Church camps and
religious properties and things like that.
And then people can put their land in a classified forest, which reduces your property tax. I mean, you can put pennies on the dollar on that one. So somebody can buy 100 acres, put a house on one, and put 99 in classified forest, and there goes your property tax base there. So, but when you look at it, we're bringing in more revenue from income than we are property. And because of the retirement community, people wanting to live here and work somewhere else or generate revenue somewhere else. And I think the last economic study I saw, 77% of our wages are earned outside the county. So that reinforces the fact that people want to live here, but they're generating income from elsewhere. And that's our strength. And that's really the strength on the RDC website. It's like live, work, and play, man. That's what we're all about. If we could attract more of those folks down here that attracted to the amenities that tourism offers. And then the growth in just the bicycling is huge. You know, it's a whole new segment of attracting, what do you call them, recreational tourism, whatever the term is. It's huge.
And it's like our largest driver. It's not our largest driver, but it's our furthest distance driver, right? So if you like put rings out of how far a tourist will come, the ones that are coming here for mountain biking will come further than anybody else.
Yeah, well, we've got the, the statistics and the studies like for our events and stuff like that. But it is, you can tell, like on a normal day out at the park, we'll have between 1,100 on a normal week, not a day, we'll have around between 1,100 and 1,500 people ride through on mountain bikes. And that's just, counting the two trail cams or whatever the camera counters. So it's big. Nashville should be designated an IMBA trail town in April. So we applied for that from the town, and we've still got the IMBA gold or bronze rating for that. So so we're good. And now with the pump track, that helps. And they're talking about building a NICA course out on the county park. If it's not a flood park, that's a different conversation. But it really is. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations. There are a lot of areas, I would say you can throw a dart at a map of like Appalachia area and hit a town that was a former coal town that is now using coal reclamation money to turn it into mountain biking trails to try to pull some of that demographic in. And you've got some nationwide famous centers, Bentonville, Arkansas, Crested Butte out Colorado, all of these like kind of trail centers, and we've got a lot of the ingredients for that in a trail system that is, so I don't know, you ride the trails, you know the trails, whatever, but we've got a great trail system. There's 100 miles of trail. You can ride from the park, you can do a 100-mile mountain bike ride and touch very little gravel or pavement. But there's been a historic disconnect between the trail and the town, really in the town, in the county to some extent. Everybody knows it's there, but we haven't really integrated it all together to promote it as this is a cycling destination. So I think the trail town thing is going to help, and it's just one driver. I mean, like you like the hiking aspect of it. I mean, here from I think you and I joked about this last year that this is Indiana's best mountain town, right? And I've said this before, like we're not competing for people to move here from. We think Brownsburg, and we think Zionsville, and we think not Whiteland, Westfield. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, if I'm going to pick a place to live, I'm picking between Brevard, North Carolina, and Asheville, and Ketchum, Idaho, and Steamboat, Colorado. I pick here because my little 10-acre property and my little house in Steamboat, I couldn't afford it if there's no way, right? So I can afford to live in the house I want in an area that I like, where I get to play and do the things that I want, and put up with the local politicians and whatever. But all joking aside, but I think that's a different model, and it's not. I can rattle off a dozen people that have moved here because of that, right? With kids in school, with children that have moved here. Another friend of ours just moved down. They live out between here and out towards Story, actually. So people are moving down here for that area, but it's not what a lot of what I'll say old timers are envisioning for the county. So there's still a bit of friction, I think, in some of that, in that we do still have some friction into these outsiders coming into our little piece of the world. So
Is there, okay, I'm
there's still
kind of blind to that.
Yeah, I mean,
I know when it comes to the biking, it's just not the mountain bike trip, but the
No,
trails and the gravel are huge.
and I don't mean friction for the cycling at all. I just
Yeah.
mean, but yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, we rode. The gravel is huge. Gravel is probably the fastest growing segment of that.
It's incredible.
And like these nationwide gravel races will pull thousands and thousands of people to little areas like this for a weekend. I mean, you're talking about these little, in the middle of nowhere towns in Colorado that 10,000 people will descend on for a weekend, for this, and they'll bring money and they'll come back and everything else. And we've got amazing gravel roads here. Hopefully we don't pave everything because the gravel's great. And we've got great paved roads too. I mean, our paved roads, that's probably the only place where we run into friction with cars.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
But you do that everywhere. It doesn't matter. I mean, our roads are absolutely some of the best road to ride road bikes on in the state. They're beautiful. They're low traffic. They're great paved. Holy crap! We rode Clay Lick, sorry, whatever, from Bean Blossom over to Gatesville, whatever that road is. It's beautiful. They must paved it in the last 2 years. I was like, where are all the potholes? This is great. So we've got phenomenal resources for all that, and we've got elevations. It's not flat here, and it's just one thing, right? I mean, still have hiking. We still have one of the best horse, although a big chunk of the horse is still out of commission. Camping, kayaking, paddleboarding, and everything else. Story, so the mountain bike group, Story and the park, and I think I've mentioned this to you, are working on trying to connect a mountain bike trail from the park to Story. So the idea there being that, and it would be kind of a green beginner entry level, anybody can ride a trail. The idea being, once Salt Trail is finished, you could ride a bike from here to Story. And Story is all over it because they've seen a huge decrease in their numbers because of the tornado wiping out the horse park last year. So
when you go to Story on a Saturday evening, afternoon, evening, to listen to some music, you're going to see horses everywhere there. That's pretty cool. And to connect the bike piece to that, assuming they can coexist in some fashion.
And we've got a good relationship with the horse riders now. It's taken some years to get there, but we would run it on a separate trail. I mean, we try to avoid shared trails. There are a couple in the park. But it would be a separate trail. And DNR for a while has been against building any more mountain bike trails, but that's kind of shifted. They're starting to see the positive impact of it, after all these years. So they're open to more trails, as long as it's controlled growth, whatever it is. And, really, we've been hesitant to build more trails until we had enough volunteer bases.
And I'm going to talk about something I don't know anything about, but I'll just say it. I'm going to guess the majority of the trails that we're talking about are more in the northern part of the park versus the south, where you'd connect to Story, right?
So yeah, most of the trails, if you pull into the the gate that's right here.
Yeah, the north gate.
The north gate. So you pull into the north gate and you go into the park. The bulk of the trails are on the right side of the road.
By the pool.
The north side, yes. When you get up to the campground, the trails are on both sides, but they don't go really close. We don't get very close to the horse trail. Where we run close to the horse trail, and the route that you would take to Story, is we go from the campground. There's a trail that runs out to Yellowwood. So that trail intersects Trail D, and that's, I think, where you would cut south to head to Story. So you can ride, so there's, I think, 48 miles of trail within the park, and then there's a trail that runs from basically from the campground out to Yellowwood Lake. There's another loop around Yellowwood Lake, and there are a couple of trails out there that then connect into Hoosier National. And you can also connect to Story, I think it's Trail D, I think Trail D, but it basically comes out on Blue Creek Road, if you're familiar with, like, you're almost out to like Elkinsville, right?
Right, yeah.
And you can connect out there. It's it's not, it's a pretty technical, tough, and it's pretty far out there, but you can loop a roundabout way and then take Elkinsville and then come back into Story. We're talking about dumping right into Rich's backyard, so Rich. So,
Which that would be fun.
Well, and what's
That's
interesting,
one more group.
like in 2017, Ball State economists came in and did a study for us. And the number one growth area that Ball State recommended was housing, to attract more people down here.
Yeah.
And then the second one was recreation.
Yeah.
And I think the third was, like, Chris, maybe production and
No, I think
retail was last, I
the
remember.
second one was like wholesale.
Nope, second one was recreation,
Then the third one was wholesale.
wholesale, okay.
And it was because there had been a huge growth in wholesale as a percentage basis.
Yeah,
But when you dug in the numbers, it was like Bigwood hired 5 more people.
Okay.
yeah, the percentage. But even then, I think they just shifted, the production bumped up, and Hartree Hills and the production was, that kind of thing kind of contributed to it.
Yeah, that's.
Hartree's still one of our bigger employers, right?
Uh-huh.
They're like
They
our
are.
third or fourth largest.
They
employer.
overtook the assisted living thing.
Okay.
The healthcare used to be the top industry,
Yeah.
and then Hartree Hills are up there.
I know there's like the school, healthcare, hard truth, something like
Yeah.
that, so.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
but, yeah, that's kind of it. Wow, that's a kind of circus route.
Yeah. Well, we got a bunch of stuff off the agenda, even though we saw it after minutes.
But see, Chris, that gets back when you talk about the RDC, it's like, that's the thing with the comp plan, and what I try to do is try to tell the story, in the comp plan, and then that really supports what the RDC, what you're trying to market.
Yeah,
So
what we're
it's
trying
not,
to do.
nothing else, it's marketing this place for those amenities, I mean, wouldn't that work? Live, work, and play, it's like,
Well, and that's what it is, right? And I think the other thing that you have to recognize is with Brown County, I don't even know, not even redevelopment, how much development's possible,
yeah.
right? There's only so much flat dirt. It's really hard to build anything big on something that's not flat. So outside of that kind of Bean Blossom to Lake Lemon corridor and going down 46 through Gnawbone, I'm not aware of many places that have the traffic, the roads, the services to actually be developed.
There are a few pockets, and I
Yeah.
think one of the issues, I think I'm not sure whether the issue is we don't have spots that could be developed, or the spots that could be developed have people that don't want to develop them.
Right.
But I think those are both.
I mean, because, look, so Opry project
Yep.
is a possibility. Prairie Farm across the street is probably one of the most developable properties we have in this entire county. I don't think that's any plans.
Is that the area where we can't get the connection from Salt Creek over to the park?
No, that's the Snyder property, so that's,
Okay.
that's a different one. So this is, if you're familiar with where the old Opry property is, across the street.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful property, it
beautiful
butts up
property,
against
beautiful
State
lake,
Park,
Yeah. And
Nice
it's
lake.
privately held. It's privately-
isolated.
Yeah, beautiful.
Well, the old ski world is
The
done.
old ski world, well, ski world's running into issues with services. It's gonna be, you're either gonna have to build some kind of a sewer plant out there, because you're not gonna run it from anywhere.
Right.
So, that's part of, I think this is kind of our chicken and
In
egg.
the floodway is
The
a
floodway's big, like the whole property, and that was one of the problems with the county comp plan, is a lot of the areas that they had identified for potential growth were in the floodway.
Yeah.
Well,
So
they
I
want
looked
to
at
put
the map.
most of the growth behind the Humane Society,
Oh,
yeah,
which is not.
yeah.
And then over the Tilton property right beside town, I mean, that's all flood. That's flood, a lot of the stuff between here and Navajo, there's a lot of flood stuff, but there's flat, dry ground between here and Navajo too. There are big chunks of property off of Helmsburg, across the street from Annandale, that could be developed. And maybe some of that, the Tilton zone may develop it at some point. I'm not sure what their plan is for that.
And there's stuff out, even Belmont that you could do.
Yeah.
But to your point, unless somebody sells it,
Unless somebody sells it or is willing
there's
to
nothing to
develop
do.
it.
Unless somebody comes to you and says, gee whiz, I'll do this if you do that. We don't have that.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the Beamery people have a chunk of land out by them that they would be willing to divide and build. And I think I think if they're willing to do that, that's cool. That would be great. I think And I think we've said this before, that would be a great thing to throw some resources at it if we could. I think,
But nobody's stopping them from doing it.
right, nobody's stopping them from doing it. I don't know what it would take to get somebody to start trying to do it, right?
So, I mean,
Somebody's got to lead that. Let's develop.
Isn't that what this is all about, though? I mean, this is about, hey, who are we?
Yeah.
And what do you want to do?
Comp plan or RDC?
The comp plan.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Um,
And I tell you, the folks I've talked to in different areas, depends who you talk to. It's like a lot of, number one thing is leave us hell alone.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, there's
there's
actually quite a bit of developable land in Van Buren, right? I mean, there's quite a bit of flat down there.
But there's a
towards
lot
the
of,
southern part.
but they've had a lot of resistance to any kind of development. down
Oh,
there.
I wouldn't
Fierce,
even-
fierce resistance.
It'd probably be some of the easier buildable land, but that's why I didn't even mention it, right? Because I know it's just daggers.
If
you
somebody
ask.
wanted to develop a piece of property, then I would argue that let's have the TIF conversation, let's have the conversation, let's see how we can get sewer, let's see how we can have stuff out there. What I don't know, is it an issue where we should run sewer to one of these places and hope somebody builds? No, that doesn't make any sense.
You're not, yeah,
Somebody's
you're
gotta
not, not with our finances,
Right.
you're not getting that.
But there's not any, like, I don't know of anybody who's, I don't know of anybody who won't build because they don't have sewer, you know what I mean? It's like, is some of that property along the the Bean Blossom at the 45, I guess, corridor, are people waiting for sewer to develop that? I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, they've always wanted the sewers, and you're gonna get them and then go forth to do good things. You got that drag strip out there, you got a lot of land out there.
Yeah.
But yet, you've got folks out there, it's like they couldn't get a landowner to give them land for a sewer plant in Bean Blossom.
Yeah. You got people that don't want to let go of that land, yeah.
Correct.
But here's something I'd be willing to make a bet on. You bring in more of the mountain bikers. You bring in more of the work from home. You bring in more of these folks that are living in cities, that want the rural life, that are going to come in here with some money. That puts some upward pressure on the market. The development will happen eventually.
Maybe.
Right? Or not. Or, but it'll happen
organically.
organically.
That subset, I mean, they're not looking for a subdivision, they're looking for a piece of
10
property.
acres, yeah.
10 acres and up with a
Yeah.
house on it, they don't want to subdivide it, right? I think the question that we need to figure out, and we should figure out, maybe it's in the comp plan, is like, you know, you and I have had conversations about what is affordable housing and what does it mean and do we need it?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that we know the right answer to that. Like, I mean, I know there's some of these studies that, I was talking to somebody in northern Indiana who's kind of in the same seats that we're in northern Indiana, and they had one of the colleges up there, it wasn't Ball State, it might have been Ball State. Somebody did a study to look at what their housing needs were going to be from now and, you know, into the future. And it's like, we're so far behind on what they think we need, we don't even know where to start. But it's the same as here. It's like, it's around one of the lakes up there, so it's a very high net worth area, but nobody who works there can afford to live there. So you've got this issue, right? Nobody who works at Hard Truth, I don't want to say nobody, a lot of people who work at Hard Truth don't live in the county. Right?
Yeah, so the note that you kind of, you know, live here, play here, I live here, stay here was the note that I kind of put as I was reading through this. It was like, you know, I think we could very easily force out affordable living if we're not careful here.
I think we already,
Some people
I think we already
we
have.
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know what affordable housing is. Right?
Yeah.
I know.
It's
Sue and I had this
30%,
conversation.
it's 30% of income.
Well, Sue and I had this conversation in this room last year. You know, we don't have affordable housing. Nobody can afford to live here. And at the time, you could pull up a Zillow search, and there were a dozen houses for under $250,000 available. I don't know what the condition was of them, or whether terrible or whatever. But it's like, if $250,000 isn't affordable, then okay, cool. Maybe that's the answer. But if the answer is we want to build a bunch of $150,000 houses in Brown County, I'm going to I'm going to agree with Chris. It's like, where are we going to put that, and who's going to let us do it? Right.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I think there's some people are a little nostalgic for housing prices from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? The cost of building, the cost of construction,
Right,
the cost
yeah.
of a home, all those things have gone through the roof.
Even the students habitat homes are they're north of 150, right?
Right. I mean,
I thought you
and
said
I
around
think-
175 or
Right,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
so
I
we're-
mentioned,
And that's donated labor.
Donated labor.
Materials.
Yeah, so.
I flipped a tract home, you know, like a big subdivision home in Pendleton, and I think it sold for 280.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a subdivision home in Pendleton is way different than here.
Right.
Logistics are easier, everything is cheaper than almost anything you could build here. And you're still talking close to 300.
Well, if you're looking at 250 or less here, you're looking at, I don't think that's move-in ready. You're looking at
I don't know, maybe.
people putting
Yeah.
money in.
I mean,
But if that's not, right, if those are 250 and Sue's houses are 175, is that the target that we're looking to try to find some home inventory for? And
See,
if so-
here's
and the other thing
here's
is
the
it's
other, yeah.
expensive to live here. By the time because you can't, there are no services, really, right? You're not getting things delivered. You can't walk anywhere unless you live in town and
Groceries
never.
delivered. Kroger will deliver here.
What?
Yeah.
From the JC and,
No, it comes out of Bloomington. Yeah.
oh, see, they won't go as far as me.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm down by
You
story,
really-
I'm just.
You gotta move up to Nashville.
Yeah,
where it's
I'm
fancy.
living in the bad spot.
Anyway, I wasn't.
But no,
trying to
but
discount
the
it.
thing is, it's just an expensive place to live,
I agree.
right? And especially if you're out in the country and like, I don't have gas, so I have to buy propane. Well, propane tends to run more than gas.
Right.
Well, it's expensive because we have a talent retention problem, maybe, right?
I don't see that.
I
Here's-
think it's more rural living logistics than anything else.
And it's
Okay.
really, we're built for that. If you look at what they did when they saw the retirees coming down here, we went for high income, low property. So we've got probably, I think we're maybe 13th on income tax, one of the highest in the state. We're about the lowest in the state for property tax. So in the majority of our income, we have two major sources are income and property. Most of it's income. And you look at the trends for income, we're not hurting on attracting, on getting more money coming down here. Problem is what you had, and then you had a limited amount of land, if 50% or more is not buildable or state, other people own the thing. What we did basically is we got high demand, low supply, boom with prices.
So I think the talent piece is this, if school population continues to dwindle and go down, is that a problem? Do we care about that?
Well, under 2,000, they're at risk of being consolidated. I think last I heard, what, 1,500 maybe?
I'm not sure.
So it does matter.
Well, if the state decides to pull the trigger and say you've got too much infrastructure and you need to consolidate schools.
But I think that's a trick question because so you have to ask, why are the school numbers dwindling? Is it because less families live here, or is it because less families are sending their kids to public school? Because we have an unbelievably high percentage of homeschool kids in this county. A huge number of homeschool kids, and I've not been able to get an actual answer on what that number is. We've tried a couple times and no one seems to know, but it's in the hundreds, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it's in the high hundreds.
Yeah, there are hundreds of kids in our county with families who live here who are homeschooling their kids and choosing not to send them to the public schools. So it's not necessarily that we don't have families here. It might be. We have a lot of families here who aren't in the home school. The other thing we've got to consider is the number of homes that are owned by people who don't live in the county, who either use them as vacation homes or use them as
Tourist rentals or rentals.
So we have a huge.
So Airbnb and second homes and.
Second homes, yeah, I mean.
But we get higher property tax.
Yeah. So
We
like
get
the
twice the
second
property
home
tax.
piece, there are a lot of people that have, second homes out here, a ton of second homes in the area. Adjacent to my property, there's a second home, right?
It's that low property
The
tax
lakes
is
and a
attractive.
lot of- Yeah, because it's you're incentivized to have, this is a great place to have a second home.
Or
We're screwed on that
commercial.
because we don't take the income, or we don't get the income tax
Correct.
on it for that. And then I think the whole conversation about the Airbnbs and the rentals, that's a whole nother conversation about how much of our housing stock is sucked up into Airbnbs and short-term.
But then the Airbnbs are controlled by the state, not the county.
And then the other thing on the schools too is there's a lot of folks that have kids that they take outside of the county
Yes.
to a
Right.
different public school.
Both in.
And I know
both in
Indian Creek is
multiple
huge.
directions, yeah.
And we get the numbers we can get the numbers on that, but not the homeschool. We get the numbers of our kids that are going to outside schools. So they're going to Monroe, or they're going to Bartholomew, Columbus, or they're going to
How do we
North.
not get the home?
So the Board of Education doesn't have that kind of data?
I don't think
They do on the students that are in another district. They
but
get
not
those
for
numbers.
homeschool.
Yeah, but
Pardon
not
me?
for homeschool.
So we don't.
Not for homeschooling.
I
So who
think
regulates homeschooling?
no one
Well,
that I'm aware of. I don't know. Yes. But
State's pretty
I
open.
tried to pin down that number last year, and I want to say where I kept coming up with because you can't, to your point, it's not published. But I was trying to like triangulate to it.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, where I ended up with, it's probably somewhere around like 700-800.
Okay. That number doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
So if our schools are down to 1,500 and we've got 800 homeschool kids in the county, it's not an issue that we don't have families here. It's an issue that the families don't send their kids to our school. And I'm not, and please don't understand, I'm not saying you're wrong.
No,
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying this is something that I've asked this question before too,
So
because I don't
as someone
know.
who's been trying to read and understand,
Yeah.
you don't know the data behind the data.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, it looks like we got a problem.
Yeah.
I think kind of the
Yeah.
thing that I did find, a little surprising or informative was really where the income is coming from. Where are the dollars being generated? When I came to apply for what I'm doing here and had to get up there and speak, I was followed by the CVC, and there were 7 or 8 folks that got up there, and I mean, you would have thought that that's the only thing that goes on around here. I mean, I'm not making. I mean, it was, and it's the
a large
innkeepers.
voice.
Hey, what are we going to do with this innkeeper stuff and
Right.
and all that? So if that's not the thing that's stirring all this, and that it's the property tax income and the people that are living here but yet working somewhere else, you start to talk about the Westfield and the Carmels and the other areas. I think there's a level of expectation that maybe exists there, that when you come here, maybe the services aren't quite what you thought. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I'm the only, I live on the only half mile of Helmsburg where there is no fiber.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So, it goes from Lanham Ridge, it stops there at Lanham Ridge, and it goes down to the track. Now, this last summer, they did run it under the track, not a thing they like to do, or over the track, but they did run it under, I think, for the fire station. So there's now a hub that's about a quarter of a mile away. Now it's just a matter of mainstream maybe bringing it down. But in the interim, you talked about sewers would be awesome, but people have been getting by on septic.
Yeah.
So, do we want to change? Do we want to modernize? Do we want to be, more up to date? For me, I've been using, Starlink. There we go. Thank you. Been using Starlink. Initially had HughesNet, which is a step above no internet.
Yeah.
And Starlink works pretty well, but I have to run a 10-foot pole up to kind of get a line of sight. The azimuth to which HughesNet is run on would be very good for my house. I kind of live on the downside of a bit of defilade coming off of a ridge. So, that I guess that is the question. Who do we want to be?
That's the point.
How hip do we want to be?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that where you live doesn't have broadband fiber, because I think we're over
85% and
high 80s. So
you
it's
just,
I
yeah.
live
It's
in a
very
little
few little
pocket.
pockets.
So I live on this end of Helmsburg. So basically where Helmsburg and Jackson Branch are. So I live back off from Jackson Branch. So Jackson Branch has fiber all the way up and over the ridge back to Helmsburg. But Jackson Branch Road that goes off to the side, our little 10 houses don't have fiber. So my neighbors on Jackson Branch do, my neighbors behind me have fiber, and I'm on Verizon's wireless version now, which isn't supposed to work at my house, but it sort of does. But it's, you're right, I moved from downtown Indy with my, 1 gig fiber straight to the house.
Didn't even think about it.
And here it's like, are you on Zoom? Sorry.
Right, and so being a professional is incredibly difficult. We moved out here. We moved from Carmel out here in June of 2020,
Okay.
and so it's COVID. I'm working for the military, and we had a lot of MS Teams calls, and to the point where a couple of my colleagues would have like a bet as to when I was going to freeze. I mean, just so there are challenges. I mean, our natural beauty and the amenities are what gets you out here, but it's what's going to get you out here and keep you out here is the question too, right?
Now, I will say, I moved down here in 21, and I lived down off 135, kind of by Story. And my internet bill went down, and my speed went up when I moved down here.
Good.
I went down $20 a month, and I went from 500 megabytes to a gig.
And you're on mainstream?
I am on Jackson County REMC,
Gotcha.
because the RMC down there has the fiber. So that's kind of depends on exactly where you are.
Yeah, and
right?
so Duke is who provides our energy. If we were on RAMC, they would have the infrastructure to do the fiber, but we kind of fall on the wrong side of
I
that.
got a note the other day from mainstream that they were coming to my house finally, so we'll see what happens.
So
Expanding.
it was on LinkedIn, and I saw something from Scott Rudd saying something about the good and wonderful things. I mean, this is for 5 or 6. It's about just about the time, because I don't think I don't want to take. I don't think I really realized until we were out here the situation. I mean, you could, and it's a shame on me, but Scott had said something about Brown County fiber, and I hit him up. I DM'd him and said, "Hey, bud, not everybody out here has got this delicious thing you call fiber." And then that led to me connecting with Zach Stevens at Mainstream and so on and so forth. So but I mean, the current dish situation is working well enough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I guess I don't know that I would agree, even on like your sewer piece of it, like as far as, our house, we're on septic, it's fine, it's new, it's taken care of, it's
Yep,
maintained.
keep it
no
clean.
big deal.
Yeah.
It costs me way less than town sewer would be.
Mhm.
But I do think it is a holding back. I do think it would be an impediment to development. If I wanted to develop a neighborhood, I couldn't do it without sewer,
Yep.
right? So like if I'm gonna do, let's say I'm gonna develop, I don't know, where could we put a neighborhood? Let's put it in, I don't know, Gnawbone, where Away a Day is, right? Away a Day is gonna become, totally making it up, whoever's listening online, I'm not planning on taking over Away a Day, right? But if you were to put a neighborhood there, they couldn't afford to put a neighborhood in there if they had to run the sewer all the way from town to there. And that's where like some of the TIF stuff would come into play. You would try to get that into a TIF district and then use TIF-based financing to build the infrastructure for that. But if you sucked up all the TIF in running the sewer from there to town, you're not gonna have enough TIF money left over to do the infrastructure that you normally do on the neighborhood development.
But there can be a phased approach to this, right?
Yeah, so in that scenario, who's gonna pay for the sewer to get it out there? And I'm not suggesting we just run it in hopes of whatever. I think it's a bigger conversation with somebody who wants to develop their land, or, somebody who's got this vision of, let's build a subdivision here.
Well, they gotta do the
Or-
cost benefit, how many people, and then when you talk subdivision, look out. It's like, what kind of subdivision? Nobody wants the track home, put these boxes every square inch that you can and
Right.
put it in the middle of Brown County, they'll chase you out of the county. Nobody wants that. What you see is what we have, is what people like, the different
Yeah.
neighborhoods you have now. That's kind of the norm and that's the expectation. I don't think we want the clusters of, what you see in Columbus.
Yeah.
On the energy city.
Well, I passed a $200,000
Yeah,
brand new
box homes.
houses, vinyl village, and
Boom, buddy.
it's not gonna.
You don't want that here.
Well, and that's the other thing to consider, because you have those homes that are right basically across the county line. That
Yeah.
are 200,000. It is from there to Big Woods, let's say, is about a 25-minute drive.
Yeah, I
Give
go
or
the other
take.
way, so yeah, it takes me 30 minutes to get out by the airport in Columbus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I commute the other direction, so, yeah.
And that's a short commute.
That's
In my lifetime,
Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
a pretty
not-
short commute.
if you live in Helmsburg, it takes you 25 minutes to get to,
If you live in Carmel, it takes you 30 minutes to an hour to get to downtown Indy.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, most of the county is time-wise further from Big Woods than that part of Columbus is.
yeah, that's a good point.
And so I think sometimes when we talk, affordable housing and things, we have to look, okay, so if you're out there, you also have all the amenities.
Yeah,
You have things like buses, you have, it's way
Transportation,
easier to live
education.
there on less money
Yeah.
than it is to live out here in the woods.
yeah.
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 And see, that's the other thing, when you talk about affordable, HUD defines it as no more than 30% of your income on housing. Okay, so affordable, and then if you had an area that somebody wants to develop, they're not gonna put $200,000 homes in there.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're gonna buy the land, they're gonna get 400, 500,000 and make a profit. And that's what we're getting, that's what's happening now.
Right.
You're not getting a builder to come in and build a $250,000 house, not doing it. If they had the land, guess what? Boom, you're looking at 400 minimum.
I guess that's the other question then. Do we need a better inventory of $500,000 homes? Are we missing out on opportunities for more people to move here because we don't have enough $500,000 homes?
Well, that
Now
gets back.
That's an interesting question. But the other thing we have to consider is if you're out, if you're not in kind of one of these valleys where it's flat.
Mhm.
And like when we built the house that I'm in, I'm at the end of a 3/4 mile county gravel road that's one lane, up a ridge, all this stuff. Infrastructure cost in some of these cases could be hundreds of thousands of dollars just to build one house,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
right? Because by the time you get the power there and you get the water lines run out and you build the septic.
Build your septic, build your driveway, build everything
Yeah.
else. I mean, we're up on, I'm sure when they built our house, we've got $80,000 to $100,000 in driveway and septic
Yeah,
before you started the house, right?
Right.
So,
so I mean, when you start taking that into account, it's hard to even end up with a $500,000 house in some of these places if you're 100 or 150 in just your site prep.
yeah.
But we attract that kind of buyer though.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's just,
But that doesn't get you the moderate to low income. That's the competition. You say we price those people out of the market. Yeah, we do. I think the last housing development we've had is probably Pine Tree Hills, isn't
Which
it?
means there's no competition for wages and the cost goes up, right? I mean, the word that just keeps kind of rolling around in my head is how do we strike a balance? Where is the balance? And I guess that's, to state the obvious.
I think to Tim's earlier point, or to Alan's point too, where that balance can exist is with existing properties. And some of them do need some work. But last year when we were having this, we looked it up and there were, 12 under 250 or something like that?
Something like that.
So there are those properties that exist. In some ways, it's almost, if they exist already, it's a way easier conversation than trying to develop something.
And it might be a conversation of, I don't know where those houses are or what condition they're in, right? So like, when we moved to Brown County, my wife, the joke was she wanted 10 acres of pond. She didn't want to be able to see neighbors, but she wanted to be able to walk into town. So I
That's a
want to be
list.
walking distance to the bars. I want 10 acres. I don't want to see neighbors. I want I want water, sewer, gas, internet, and I want to be able to walk into town. We found it, but it was a freak of nature, I guess. But I mean, if your $250,000 house is out on the outskirts of Brown County, way out past where Chris lives, well, that's kind of a different person who's looking for that house than the family who wants to come here and enjoy the amenities and everything else. I don't know exactly where your house is. I'm not picking on you, but I'm saying there's parts of Brown County that are like so far remote that it might be too remote for something. Like, if we had $250,000 houses in Nashville that were 3-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful picket fence, cedar siding, nice little cool Brown County houses at $250,000, one they'd all be sucked up for rental properties.
Yeah.
I mean, it would cost $500,000 to build that anyway, so. Yeah.
And then where would you build them?
And where would you build them?
I mean, you guys are out of land, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, if you think on the commercial side of it, if you really had a good, especially on the tourism end, if you really had a good resort project and you could get some land out, I don't know how much the help you would need necessarily. I mean, you look at a lot of, if we have the nature and we have the attractiveness there, you look at a lot of destination resorts and places that are on like islands in the middle of nowhere. They figure out how to get their own sewer, get their own power, and make money still. All right, so on the tourism side, there could be some arguments where, yeah, okay, we need to there's some work that could be done or some some assistance, but at the same time, you have a lot of resorts that exist around the world where they handle everything in-house.
Well, in Big Woods, Hard Truth Hills didn't ask for a dime.
Yeah, they didn't, that's true.
Didn't ask for a dime. Because the market's here. People were here. They just built it
Yeah.
when the market already existed. So we sell ourselves. The county sells itself. So you don't have to give an enticement to a developer. As to Chris's point,
Well, I disagree with that. I mean, you said we've never lost a developer because we didn't give them an incentive, but we've also, you know, I would also argue we've probably not gotten all the developers that we could have if we were offering incentive. I think it's the same thing either way. I mean,
yeah, the trick that, yeah, you'd have to make a heck of a business case.
Yeah, when we looked at doing a TIF for the Opry apartment project, and we looked at what a TIF increment financing for that project would do, and the issue that we ran into was most of the available money that you could borrow for the TIF would get sucked into running that sewer, and there wouldn't be enough left for site work and things like that. So like, I'm not saying that's why that project fell apart, because I think at the time the TIF was on the table, or could have been, or whatever. But
Well, I don't think specifically. I think the concept of, gee, how can we fund this was, you know, we'll think about it. The council approved a letter that says, well, we won't rule it out.
yeah, and I'm not just specifics on that project, it don't matter, but the point I'm trying to get out, you know, for the right project with the right developer, we may have to do a TIF to get it off the ground, and be willing to do it. But we don't have the developer, we don't have the property, we don't have any of that in the mix. I would argue that we would, if someone wanted to develop the Opry property, or someone wanted to develop in Helmsburg, and a TIF was a way to help them do the infrastructure work that they needed in order to pull it off, I would think that we should look at it.
If the cost benefit was there.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think when Tilden proposed his project, he wanted to lease his property to somebody that would develop it.
Yeah.
And he had no risk. That risk would be passed on to the county. The risk of the developer, their capabilities, that'd be on the county. And then the risk of we're going to get enough to pay off the loan is the other. Is all.
Yeah, I wasn't really specific about that.
Yeah, that's high risk. That's high risk for the county. It's like.
But if my point is that I don't think we should be against the TIF if it was the right project and the right.
Well, I mean, let's say you get somebody in like a Disneyland wants to come in and do something with the old ski world kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they could show a 5-to-1, 10-to-1 return on that investment, yeah, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
to expect the county would take any risk to borrow money on a maybe,
Yeah,
was good luck. It'd be hard to sell.
The county doesn't also, you can do developer-backed TIFs too, so that doesn't fall on the county if the project falls apart.
Yeah, it'd have to be an awfully attractive property, and then that gets back to, you know, would that be supported in the area that people want that? And that's a story you need to tell on the comp plan.
Yeah.
Just like you did for Nashville, and you explained all the ins and outs of Nashville. That to me is a chapter in the comp plan.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here's Nashville, and here's the constraints they have for growth and their plan and their vision. But that needs to be documented so people know. Same way, I think trails have got to be in there. I mean, we don't have the recreation is what attracts people. Broadband, the coverage on broadband, all that stuff, that needs to tell the story. I think that's what the comp plan should do. And then find the gaps for the internet, the lack of broadband, and figure out how to close the gap.
It's not as important as you know, electricity, water, sewer, but it's pretty damn.
Well, you got to have it.
Right?
In a globalized world.
Right. If you're pulling work from home people, you need that, right? I couldn't live here. I mean, my Verizon's fast enough, but if I was on HughesNet, I couldn't.
At all.
I couldn't do it. You know.
Yeah.
So you brought up some really good examples. So as I'm trying to, redevelopment. What does that mean? And trying to kind of figure out what this means. You brought up some really good examples of kind of gnarly things that existed footprint-wise or whatever that the RDC came in and kind of helped move along, right? Mm-hmm. The things that I think, you know, Alan, you were just talking about are more of the economic development-ish type, someone that going out and looking for opportunities or being aware, being the place that opportunities come into, pushing or pulling, one or the other doesn't really matter. And then, how do we scale to meet that moment? As it seems like there is a need to kind of figure out who we are, what we're doing, RDC wise, not.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what the comp plan should do, is help identify what those opportunities might be for any kind of redevelopment. What area would want to be redeveloped? I don't know.
You're spot on, and this is something we talked about last year. I mean, we don't have an EDC, and we have our RDCs trying to figure out what we want to be, and we're competing with counties that do have active EDCs and things like that. I mean, like my little company that's in Columbus, we were getting recruited to move to Seymour. So the economic development group in, what county is that? Jackson County is out going after people, trying to get them to move there, trying to get them, even if you don't move here personally, move your business here. And
that's a state program.
It is. It's.
And Seymour, I mean, they're getting.
Yeah,
It's a state-backed program.
Yeah.
And there's some restrictions on it. I met with the guy who is with the IEDC for coffee.
Yeah.
The Indiana Economic Development Corporation.
Who did you
And
meet with?
a guy named Roy Martin.
Okay. Yeah.
They wanted to potentially do some lunch and learns in town and bring in folks from the state to give business resources. And I was the only economic person, and he went in the website. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll meet with you. There's RDC is not really running right now, but I got the email, so.
Yeah.
Met with
For a
him.
minute, Sock Factory was on IEDC's website as an available property, and the broom factory. So at some point there was some interaction between the county and IEDC.
But that's one of the things that came up was that program, and that's something that, I don't know if that sits within our purview or not, but could be interesting because it's giving people break, I think, on state taxes for a little bit to move somewhere.
Yeah.
And I believe, if I remember properly, there's a 2-year requirement that you have to stay there for 2 years to get the break. So it could be a way to help attract some of these work from home or people that want to get out of the city and have a spot where they have a little bit of recreation available.
Yeah. Yeah, they were trying to recruit us with, they were, I think it was part of that program, but I think they had some local funding and some capital from some local businesses that was in the mix too. But point being, it was cool. They made us go look at Seymour. I don't particularly want to commute to Seymour, but we certainly consider it. There was part of it was, there was some $75,000 or something that they were going to throw into the mix to offset the cost of moving and all this other stuff. So there was some tax incentives, there were some grants, and there were some, rent incentives and stuff like that. That was pretty neat. But we don't have that.
Yeah.
Right? We don't even have a chamber anymore.
Well, and we could look into that. That might be something.
But is that RDC or is that the EDC?
Or EDC. But see, when you look at the EDCs and you look at what other communities are doing, the whole idea is to attract jobs and employers. What jobs do we want to attract? What employers do we want
to attract work from home people. Yeah. And I think we should. I don't know that we should work from home and software. Do it all from Brown County. What about? You've got a software company. This is a great place.
And it is registered in Brown County.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I would have moved our company here if we could have found a little spot to put it. I may still yet, but.
Well, and that's where the work from home thing can come in really positively because, my software company, we have no infrastructure. Right? Everything lives on the internet. We don't have anything. We have IP. We have, actually, one of my partners has one Mac Mini that lives in his house that is our hardware for our entire project.
On the cloud.
Yeah.
Or in a cloud.
Yeah.
The only reason we have facilities, we do software and hardware components, so we manufacture hardware.
Yeah.
We could do that here, but.
But bringing in software companies when everybody's working remote anyway.
Well, it gets back to what's stopping them from doing that? What's stopping us from advertising that?
I think a lot of it is just we need to advertise it. I mean, that was one of my pushes towards the end of last year, was we can sit around and worry about tax breaks. We can sit around and worry about all these different things, or we could just go on, like, try to tell a story.
Mhm.
And maybe people buy the story, right? Because that's how the Helmsburg thing worked. You guys set up an EDA, you told the story, it was in the paper, you got some attention.
Magic happened.
Boom, it was done.
Well, I mean, I think to Tim's point, if there's enough demand for those $500,000 houses, somebody's gonna break off enough land to build them, right? I mean, is there enough demand for, if we do our job and market this to more people to move down here, and it increases the demand on $500,000 houses, then at some point, the property value is gonna be up, somebody's gonna sell and subdivide, right?
Yeah,
Tim hopes anyway.
or no one ever
Then we can
does.
tiff it and then off we go.
Yeah, or no one ever does, because, I mean, I got, I don't know, 20 some acres. I'm not splitting my land up.
Come on, let's put it.
Heck no, I like my privacy, right? I live in Van Buren for a reason.
And I surveyed folks, I asked folks, especially the generational landowners, I said, would you ever consider splitting off some of that, to have the lower cost housing? Hell no.
Yeah.
One, they're gonna keep
But
it.
it needs to be on somebody else's property.
Right, well, they said, one, I don't want to get rid of the land, and then two, if I do, it goes to family, and that's kind of what they're doing.
Mhm.
It'll go to family, and every now and then you'll get a generational person, Sprunica, that farm up there went, probably about the fourth generation, guy sold it all, and they split that up, and, what is it, 60,000 for 3 acres or whatever it was.
Well,
Yeah, and that's
That's the other
nothing,
thing.
that's just land,
The dirt prices here are not cheap,
no,
and they've gone up a lot.
yeah,
but they sold those lots.
yeah.
Yeah,
We sell. Yeah, I don't think we have a problem selling real estate here.
yeah, but it's hard to develop anything affordable when you're paying 20 an acre, and then another 80 or 100 to make it buildable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking you got potential in Lake Lemon for growth. I think you got potential in Lake Lemon when they get sewers, definitely Bean Blossom when they get the sewers.
Mhm.
They always say, you give us
Helmsburg, I
sewers
think,
in
too.
Yeah.
Helmsburg, so they got it. If you look for potential in that one, it's there, the
You
infrastructure's there.
get Paul and Paulette who have the antique place there,
Uh-huh.
right across from the Dollar General. And my wife does a lot of antiquing, and Paul and Paulette had it for sale for a minute. But the issue was there's no sewer. I mean, there's no, well, I mean,
Yeah.
that was the problem.
You mean their property, their business?
Mhm.
Why would they, why would they need sewers?
So they were also looking at selling the land itself to for somebody to come in and maybe do some development or whatever. But
Okay, demo it and
Right,
do something
so-
else in that corner. Okay, I got it.
the land wasn't maximizing its value because it didn't have essential services. Is kind of my point.
Well, and they're targeted to get sewers up there,
Yep.
so I'd be real curious to see,
Yeah.
go forward, do good things.
Yeah.
See what happens. Same way with Helmsburg, same way with Lake Lemon.
Yeah.
Great, go get them. You just gotta find land.
Yeah.
so random question, but does somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Oh,
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, approved. Sorry, I just wanted to say.
No, that's all right, yeah, we-
'Cause I'm like, yeah, we've been sitting here talking for an
You
hour.
said
We're
30
not following the
you-
agenda,
You
but,
said 30 minutes, so it's like, okay. Goes that theory.
we're having good fun talking.
Yeah.
Website update, it exists. I posted things on it. I answered the one email from the IEDC guy. We also had a guy reach out from the Port of Indiana, who wanted someone in Brown County to talk to, so I said I would talk to him. Haven't heard from him since. He called me once and he said, hey, I'm driving through Brown County. Can you grab coffee? I'm like, I don't even live close to Nashville. So when?
So Chris, does the RDC website connect off of the Brown County?
Yes, there's a link from the RDC page, I believe, unless that's gotten taken down.
I haven't touched it.
Well, that's the county run one.
So it links from the county?
Yeah.
It should link there. It's choosebrowncounty.com. We have all our agendas, all our minutes end up posted there to keep it nice and in line with the open door law. And yeah, so that gives us our own little public advertising platform.
Well, Chris, one deliverable is by April 15th, I think is when that report's due for last year.
Yes.
And I could be just a negative report. That's it.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I don't,
Okay.
I think we just have to put our name on the top and put a bunch of zeros on it and call it a day.
I think so.
Right, because it shouldn't be any harder than like a zero income tax return.
I'm thinking.
Do we need to discuss anything more on the comprehensive plan background in the draft?
No, I'll meet with, I'll let you guys know what I learned from the APC and joint meeting, that kind of stuff. It's like, the whole goal, Todd, is a comprehensive plan. I'll identify the opportunities for development or redevelopment. And it could be when you go out to these areas and people say, leave me the hell alone, there goes your lack of opportunity in that particular area. But others may say, yeah, help me out here, or whatever. I think Bean Blossoms of potential, like Lemon, who knows. But it's really hitting the ground and asking what people want.
Yeah.
And then from the commissioner's standpoint, the zoning, where I'd like to see on these meetings, people need to understand how their property is zoned. They need to understand what district they're in, and they could be in one or two districts. You know, if you're within a lake, you could be in a lake district, and you could be in an R2 district, a residential district. And then those districts have allowable uses, have a list of allowable uses to what can go in those particular districts. So a lot of people, when they see residential, they think that only means homes. That doesn't mean just homes. And so if you look at that link I sent you, it goes to independent voters. I've got a link to the matrix that shows you the districts and what all the allowable uses are in the district. And so then when you go out to these meetings, you show that list to people and say, hey, one, do you know what your zoning is? Do you know what your district is? And do you know what allowable uses in your district are? And what do you think? Yes, no, indifferent, what? Tell me. And then do you know how your zoning is changed also, and the hoops that you got to go through, or the hoops, how your neighbor could zone something to put a 24/7 adult learning center right next to your 5-acre cabin on a pond in the middle of nowhere. So, so from the commissioner's standpoint, that becomes extremely critical for people at least aware of it, so they're not surprised, because you always get these surprises when people get in an area and they didn't know something could go in there. And then that packs the room, and I just want to prevent as much of that as possible.
And I have a feeling, based upon the how should I put this? The things that have riled people up over the last 4 or 5 years around here, that when they see the zoning, we're likely to see, at least from, I think, a lot of folks, that they want less things available, not more.
Yeah.
So that might, we might get that feedback from folks and have less options for development.
And that's fine, I'd like to know. Yeah,
If it's what
I'd just
people
like
want,
to
that's
know.
what should happen, right?
That's why you have the meetings.
Yeah.
And they had like 4 meetings on here. And they may have done that in Nashville. I think those community meetings, they had a ton of them. So I don't know if we can get 4 meetings in Van Buren. Don't know. I think we get a couple, but anyway.
I think as long as we have one.
I like having more than that.
Yeah.
Get over the shock factor.
Yeah.
So anyway, again, I just want to, that's that community engagement thing, and so I'll get with the ABC and see what their appetite is for this kind of thing, because we just need to tell the story and get people's input. So.
Who's on APC now?
Same folks.
Same folks? Okay.
We had no new applicants for the APC, so just reapplied Andy Boyles and Deckard.
Yeah, I saw it indeed.
Yeah. Those.
I didn't really know what was what, so I just, RDC, I was like, that sounds like something.
It's a great way to get started.
It is.
You'll get suckered into so much more. So, yeah, it's just great.
Just be real careful come November, because then everybody will call you and be like, hey, there's this other board. Do you want to be on it? And it's, you just got to say no.
Well, it's economics. And it's like your point is did we price a certain segment of the market out of the market? Yeah, we have. Technically, we have.
But to what extent? We don't know.
But at the same time, you look at the redevelopment. We just got a grant for $500,000 to help people rehab distressed properties, and then we link that to an energy saver program. So, that's like 20,000, potential $30,000 on the different programs to help people renovate their homes. And we have a lot of folks that need help.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to get a better handle on that one, but at least,
It's less than
we're starting.
41% of our population, right?
Pardon me?
It's less than 41% of our population.
Yeah,
According to the statistics, right?
according to some things, yeah.
So the data says.
But I mean, we've got 20 applicants now. We can go for another 10.
I'm not trying to discount that at all, just.
It's there. I mean, we have those folks that need the help.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the cost of living is a challenge, and that's part of it too, so. God, if it's all easy, we wouldn't be making the big bucks, right?
So, plan of action for 2026. It sounds like you're going to have a conversation with the APC on that. So we're kind of good there. Is there anything else pressing that we know of right now that we need to focus on for this year?
I don't know, give me feedback on I'd appreciate some feedback on the scope of work thing.
I mean, I like it.
I mean, go through and look at the economics and then, like I said, there's matrices in here by the townships. Now you got a township map, you see what's there. And so, gives you a flavor for what the different communities are.
Yeah, they're doing 4 thematic within the township. That would be great. We could do that in every township and really.
Well, at least you know. I'd like to know.
Well, and I'm curious too, to see, assuming we can actually get this kind of community engagement done, how are these townships different? Because I know for a fact, the Lakes is its own cultural set.
And 70% of those homes are second homes.
Right, but that's a whole separate group than, say, the 45 corridor, which is completely different than where I am down in Van Buren,
Yes.
right? You have these enclaves that, while largely similar, definitely have some specific things they care about.
Well, and then you have Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
and their goals, their vision. So how you accommodate that? So these different areas are unique. I think Helensburgh is unique.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Lem is unique. Knobbo, it's all unique. It's different. So I'd be real curious
Yeah.
to get the information and say, okay, what will you guys support? Because, when you go to make some zoning changes, you got to have the support of folks. If you want to do TIF, you got to have the support of the people who live in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And who knows, maybe we get lucky and we find some area that they're like, yes, please, we will find the land, we want the development,
okay,
right?
that'd be great too.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be great too, just need to know. I mean, just look at the challenge we had on just upgrading the road on Pumpkin Ridge Road. My God, it's and now you want to put a development somewhere? Good luck. I like to assess at least
And see what people want,
too
right?
much.
I mean, it's,
So,
you never know until you ask.
correct. So that's the point. So,
It's a chance to be transparent, build trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this plan REA made, I do like.
okay.
It's
Made sense?
It makes sense, and it's actually more in depth than what we had spec'd out last year. Because we just spec'd out trying to essentially do what they're doing in 4 meetings in 1 meeting. Because then we were more focused on going around the county, but if we can do this level in all of them, that would be fantastic.
Well, then what I try to do, if you look at the supporting thing, the work in process link, try to link the articles on the 10 missing towns kind of thing to get you a flavor of the different areas. Is the history of a particular area, like Stonehead had its own history, Story had its own history, Alkinsville, when it was a town. So you have a little different flavor, I think, of history-wise, throughout the county.
No
So
one ever found that head bed, did they?
I think I heard that somebody had actually smashed it, that it is
Did they?
no
Yeah.
longer. but I'm not sure.
they rebuild
It's
it.
too bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was, I don't remember where I saw that.
Because that was the best, worst landmark.
Yeah.
Well, I know they redid it, and somebody stole it, and they redid it, and then there's vandalism.
I think they're redone and
Got smashed.
Well, see, I think that's part of the, to me, at least a few paragraphs in the township saying, hey, here's the history, here's where we've been, here's what we have. So at least people, and I think a lot of people lived here for a long time. They kind of know that culture. Their grandparents or great grandparents, in a lot of cases, kind of know the area. It's pretty interesting.
When's the next meeting?
Well, that's a great question. I was going to ask that. What are we feeling? Should we meet a month from now?
I think we should.
Because then you'll have had a chance to meet with APC and.
I'll be meeting with them this, Kayla anyway, this week, so.
But I would say let's try to meet in a month, just to,
Okay.
so we can, figure out what our path is. If we decide that after a couple, we don't need to meet. I know there was some conversation about quarterly, but I'd rather we meet more frequently and do more stuff. And
Yeah.
we can pull it off. So.
Yeah, I mean, if there's things to do, I'm all about meeting as much as we need to. If there's nothing to do,
Let's find something good to do.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, Chris, I tell you, I think the website, the marketing potentials there is good. I would just love to see a link, I'm sure you have it out there, of all the different bike trails we have in the county that attracts people. I mean, the story that you tell, the number of people come down, where did I read that?
Well,
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I think the website's one thing. One of the things we ran into last year with the website is that no one had touched it for years.
Yeah.
true.
So I went in and I took out a bunch of dead links and essentially tried to evergreen it so that there weren't all these links to all these organizations that might change or anything, right? And just here's like the basic information and streamlined it so that, because I didn't know that I would be back this year, but to essentially make sure that it was a low maintenance burden moving forward. I think the website is something we can leverage, but I think really, if we're trying to get attention, maybe press releases. Maybe try to get some of the Indianapolis media on it. Maybe get the Star on it. Look at bloggers and people that write about things. I mean, if we want to attract people here by saying, hey, it's a great place to go mountain biking. I don't know any mountain biking influencers because that's not my thing, but I know they exist.
Yeah.
Well, and I know like the CVB does pull some influencers in from a marketing it to tourist point of view. So, I mean, maybe it's a matter of piggybacking onto some of that and let them pay for it, and then let's put a blurb that you can live here too, tied to our huge inventory of $500,000 mountain bike friendly houses.
Yeah. Because we don't have.
We could connect your neighborhood to the trails. There's one of the guys has there is a secret trail that enters from your neighborhood, but the person. A guy just bought a piece of property that could make that a legitimate connection with an easement and everything if we can get the park to okay it. But the park doesn't like secret entrances into the park.
Yeah, we have one. We walk in the park all the time.
Yeah, you guys have one that comes right out on Green Valley Trail, mountain bike trail.
Oh, really?
We use it as an emergency extraction point, and we use it to get in for trail maintenance too.
That's probably
It's
far
behind
west.
Ben.
You're talking Town Hill, right? You're probably talking, okay, probably about the far west.
Yeah.
Southridge.
Ben, somebody I think is the neighbor that just bought it. Yeah. Anyway, sidetrack.
Okay.
I don't think we have any public comment because no one else is here.
Okay.
I think Tim, last year you were like 50% of our public comments.
Oh, yeah.
Well, nobody else was really showing up.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll say the next meeting is, I think the 14th is the correct date. That should be the second Tuesday in.
Oh, man, day before the tax time.
Day before the things due, day before tax time.
Okay.
And I'll look that up and see, because I doubt we need an attorney or anything.
For what?
For this report.
Oh, hell, no.
Right? Should just be able to pull it up and write some zeros down.
Yeah.
I'll make sure we get that done. And
I did the first couple and gave it to
Did
the
you?
commissioners and then kind of died off after that.
okay. Does that go to the commissioners or does that get filed with the state?
Yeah, we'll find out on this one. That's who I gave it to, but I think it just, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah.
Our attorney's the one that brought it up when I asked about what do we do in the RDC. So.
Yeah, and I think we had, Sue looked into it last year and heard from someone that, well, if it's all zeros, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, well, we'll just, yeah.
It's probably like filing a
Do we need
zero
to
tax
do
return.
something different with the bond thing this year since we have new members?
No,
Okay.
we fixed that. Chris stirred that one up and we fixed it.
No,
Yeah,
I
'cause
remember
it's-
you started up, I just didn't know if we needed to
Yeah.
redo it this year.
No, because it's just a bond for the board, right, rather than individuals?
Yeah, it's for the board.
Cool.
That opened up a whole neat little
You saved us some
opportunity
money.
for improvement,
Yeah.
because we are overpaying for bonds.
As a
Wow.
Brown County taxpayer, thank you very much.
Yes,
You're welcome.
you're welcome.
That's,
Yeah.
that's the one thing we did last year that I looked at. Wow, that was
I think
kind of-
I think we saved
It
it.
was been a good save, yeah.
I think we saved a couple thousand on that deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll meet then. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
All right, that's good.
Well, Todd, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, super nice to meet you. Yeah.
Take my map with me.
Okay, and if you read the narrative, I've got in each of those sections, I've referenced the township and what's in
We
it,
do.
so we can get you